Thank you. So let me first say a few words about myself. I'm actually live a double life. I have both an academic and entrepreneurial side. So today I'm going to talk about the latter one. About a couple of years ago, we founded with a couple of colleagues and friends from the US a company named Behavioral Signal Technologies, trying to actually take deep tech that was developed mainly at the University of Southern California and also at the National Technical University of Athens into the real world. What we do is that we analyze speech, we analyze voice, we analyze conversations, and we don't focus so much on the what is being said, not so much on the speech recognition side of things. We focus more on how things are being said, on the intonation, on information related to emotion, to behaviors, and correlating that information with what is being said. So, for example, when I hesitate, how that is related to what I'm saying. This technology, and this is a bunch of, we've been around this a couple of years. We're funded by VCs in Los Angeles, which is the headquarters of the company, and we have the majority of our tech team in Greece. And these are a few of the companies that, a pretty diverse group of companies that are working with us, a sample of them. So it all started about 15 years ago when my dear friend and colleague, Sri Narayanan at the University of Southern California, basically tried to formalize the concept of applying behavioral informatics into the area of basically speech, natural language signal processing, and started working with a variety of use cases from the medical domain, trying to basically port information that was annotated by hand by psychologists and behavioral scientists and try to automate it, bringing machine learning into the problem. So basically behavioral informatics is all around us. You can see here a whole bunch of applications in social sciences, in call centers, user modeling, customer care, in health and well-being, and also in security applications and daily activities. Basically, I mean, what we're doing here is that we're trying to compute human actions. It's basically taking human action behavioral data and trying to analyze it in a way that is meaningful to take decisions and actions and close the loop. And this is really, we're not ready to do it fully automatically. We're not ready to do it fully automatically. We don't actually supplant the human. We actually just use it as a tool to help humans that make decisions, right? So basically it's a collaborative integration of human expertise with automated machine learning. You keep the human in the loop, and you basically aid them in making decisions, and you help them to be aware of their decisions, to be aware of the way they communicate, to be aware of the actions they're taking. And we do this both on the, let's say, patient side and the doctor side, or in a call center, in an agent side, and the customer side. Okay, so here you see a couple of examples. You see one example, which is couples therapy. So some of us have been through that. So you know that basically a lot of the interactions goes through. You basically have a mediator that is your doctor, and you basically discuss openly a lot of these issues. A lot of the behaviors you see there might be, kind of suppressed negative behaviors. You see lots of blame patterns, and if you're able to automatically detect those patterns and inform people on how they're behaving and make them aware of how they're behaving, you can help. And that's basically what your therapist is doing. But if you can do it automatically, you can help improve the relationship. In the bottom left there, you can see an example from autism therapy. So there you can see technologies that can actually detect joint attention. They can detect how engaged the child is. You can detect how social the child is being. You can detect if there's joint intentionality, basically two people working towards the same goal. And you can take all this information and automatically annotate the session and offer it to the therapist to actually help them improve their awareness about the problem and improve the specialized care that the child needs. So we started from there, and that was 15 years ago. And then, as I said a few years ago, we actually, and I have this thing that, you know, it's actually a couple of years, but many, many personal years later, and a lot of Git commits, and, you know, some bunch of engineers somewhere. Actually, we're a remote group. The majority of, as I said, the tech team is in Greece, spread in Athens, Thessaloniki, and Chania. We're able to identify a few use cases that actually were relevant and a good opportunity for commercializing those technologies. So the first thing we actually worked on was call centers. And here what we did basically was analyze both sides of the conversation. A lot of the work we did initially was actually to provide, let's say, an X-ray or basically a diagnostic of the emotional and behavioral, let's say, health in a call center, and then personalized analysis, basically quality monitoring and quality assurance and agent training, basically tracking behaviors and tracking emotions, things like empathy, engagement, politeness, and also discrete and continuous emotions, positivity, negativity, agitation, anger, and making basically the agent aware of how they were behaving, and also making them aware of good behaviors that other agents were showing, and helping them improve daily their performance. And on the customer side, basically trying to estimate things like how probable was it that this customer is a loyal customer, a customer that is potentially will make a sale, and how satisfied basically the customer is. So the second use case is, again, associated with marketing and sales, and it has to do with the fact that, as we well know, we might hate a product, but we might love the brand. So basically, the emotional connection you have with a brand is more important and a better indicator of the lifetime value of product than the actually, you know, usability, functionality, and how likable the product is itself. So what we're doing here is basically through audio conversations, we're trying to detect how strong the relationship between a person and the brand is, and that leads to estimators for loyalty and churn for brands. And then going back to our stomping grounds when we started a lot of this research, there's quite a bit of pilots that are going on in health. And one interesting case here is in psychotherapy. So here what we're doing is basically we're recording a session between a patient and a doctor, and what we're doing is we're analyzing this conversation based on a labeling manual that the doctors themselves are using when they're being trained. So when a psychologist is being trained, basically senior psychologists will sit down and hand label those sessions and say, here you're using an open question, here you're using empathy, here you're using a reflection. This is the appropriate mix that you should be using, this is what you're using. You should improve on X, Y, Z. So the idea is to actually do this automatically, and I think this little video from our partner, Listen.io, which is the company working on this, I think demonstrates this very beautifully. You can have the audio, please. I can read the audio. So basically what you're saying is a transcription of what is being said. Instead of doing it manually, it's been done automatically. And then basically this goes into our speech analytics software to analyze emotions and behaviors. And this basically becomes a report that the doctor can see and track, basically make them aware of how they're actually doing and score them basically. And it can be a tool for training, but also it can be a tool for making the doctor aware, kind of, we call it like a Fitbit for doctors, basically, making them aware of their performance. Okay. So this is basically the loop in all our products. Basically what we do is we provide an API. We have a product for some of the use cases. For others, we work with partners, we OEM with partners. So basically in all of this, we acquire the data, we process them, we extract information, and then we provide insights. Those insights are very much industry specific, so they're going to be different for health. They're going to be, for example, for call centers. But basically the process of analyzing the audio and the actual outputs on the behavioral and emotional side are very similar across different industries. So basically what we do is we take the audio, which is typically single channel, we separate it, we figure out who is speaking when, and then we extract over 300 audio features that have to do with intonation, that have to do with how things are being said, and then we detect emotional and behavioral hotspots, and then we combine all these sorts of information together with a transcript, if available, to produce KPIs like agent performance score, empathy, propensity to buy, etc. And then these results are combined with also text analytic results, things like churn, loyalty, etc. And here's an example of the UI that we provide for call centers. You can see the two sides of the conversation, the agent and the customer on top and the bottom and the top. And then you can also see the radar plots of emotions and radar plots of behaviors, and also information about emotions interactively during the call. Okay, and a little bit about our technology. This technology was developed over the last 15 years, but more recently there's been lots of advances in the area of machine learning. So we're using deep neural nets, and we have proprietary technologies that can improve using multitask learning and also doing baselining, which is a very hard thing to do in behavioral analysis and emotional analysis. You have to baseline basically and find a neutral behavior and then kind of base your results on that. And finally, we translate this to classifiers that estimate the KPIs, the key performance indicators relevant for its industry. And here are some of the accolades from the research groups, recent results and winning technologies in a bunch of bake-offs in all of these areas. Okay, here's another example related to agent wellness. So you can see here real data from a call center, and you can see with dots the agitation of the agent over the course of a day on different calls, and you can see basically behavioral patterns on agitation going up and down. And hopefully what you need to do here is basically achieve the target behavior that looks like the green line rather than the blue line with interpolation of the actual data. So you can achieve that using training, using intervention, asking for the agent to take a breaks, switching them on easier calls, etc. So you can actually intervene during the day to improve agent wellness. And here's a bunch of use cases that we're investigating with different companies in the US that we're piloting with. The mental health is a big area, especially behavioral health. We're looking into how you can take these technologies and make them part of electronic medical records, to both for consulting. So basically, a doctor can quickly review what has happened in previous sessions, and also for potentially documentation, malpractice suits, etc. We're investigating self-reporting, so using basically IVR systems where you call in and you report how you're feeling. You answer basically a bunch of questions using your voice, and this serves basically as a filter to decide if a patient should come in earlier or he's fine, he's taking his meds, he's doing fine. So you can think it as basically a mechanistic nurse that basically screens the patients. Another interesting application is telemedicine, where you basically can apply analytics today, because right now, typically most of these telemedicine applications will use mostly generic video conferencing software, and it gets more and more generic. So basically, on top of that, you can embed analytics, you can embed speech analytics that can detect behaviors. And of course, as I said, behavioral therapy is something that is very close to what we're doing already. So basically, emotional behaviors are a big part of behavioral therapy, and that's the first application that we're working on, the first use case that we're working on. So I will conclude somewhere here, just briefly. I'm going to show you, but I think without the audio, maybe that doesn't make much sense. I want to show you a little bit about, a short video showing what we do. But essentially, what I want to stress here is that the next step beyond the speech recognition is really understanding how things are being said, understanding behaviors, understanding emotions, and we're working towards that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.